All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. Welcome to our first Small Business Resilience Workshop of 2025. My name is Jimena Villaseñor, Policy Analyst at the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce and lead for our small business initiatives. As some of you might remember, this is an initiative that we started last year as a component of our small business series. And these types of workshops are offered twice a year and will typically feature local, state, and federal experts who provide insights and guidance on a variety of topics aimed at enhancing the resiliency of and success of small businesses in our region. So just a quick housekeeping item, our guests will be able to answer a short amount of questions at the end of the remarks. So please make sure to submit your questions or comments on the platform's live chat. All right, we will get started, and we have a great lineup of speakers today. And with us here, propped up, we have our very own Executive Director of Public Affairs, Justine Murray. She's here to give us a great start on information on state-related issues and how the Chamber has actively engaged in this space throughout the year. And to introduce us to our first guest speaker, of course. So, Justine, please take it away.
Good morning, Jimena. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As Jimena said, my name is Justine Murray. I'm the Executive Director of Public Affairs for the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. So really focused on domestic policy issues, whether that's at the federal, local, or at the state level. We're really engaged here at the Chamber. We serve over 2,200 members, and that represents over 300,000 jobs across our region. We're really focused on making the San Diego region the best place to live and work. And as most of you know, over 93% of San Diego's economy is made up of small businesses. So when we advocate to all levels of government and we talk about what makes San Diego and our binational region so special, we're often talking about the small businesses that power our economy. When we talk about things like public safety, or when we talk about things like easing permits, right, or bureaucratic processes for businesses, a lot of what we're talking about with our representatives, especially at the state level, is what makes San Diego different. For example, we had the Assembly Speaker here last year to talk about some public safety initiatives with the business community. And I had really stressed to the speaker and his team that, we're different than Sacramento, we're different than San Francisco in a lot of ways, but also in our economy, in that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. So our needs here are going to be a little bit different than those across our region. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the state efforts we had before I introduce our first guest speaker today. So really in the last year, we've become really proactive at the state level, wanting to make sure, obviously geographically, San Diego is at a little bit of a disadvantage when we come to Sacramento, but we have great representatives serving San Diego in both the state legislature, both in the Assembly and the Senate. And so we really try to advocate for San Diego's community and get our business community at the table earlier rather than being reactive. So last year we were at the forefront of supporting things like a PAGA reform deal, which was a Private Attorneys General Act. It's one of those things that you don't really care about until you know about it, but that was a well-intentioned labor law back decades ago that ended up actually costing businesses a lot of money, ended up paying out a lot of money to private attorneys and not helping employees either. So we worked with our partners at the California Chamber of Commerce and other statewide business organizations and other local chambers to put forward a deal that reformed PAGA. And this was something that had been worked on for about 5 years or so. So that was a big one for the business community. And then something that we've also become really engaged on the state level is public safety. That's not really typical for a Chamber of Commerce, but especially what we're seeing in San Diego and of course for our small businesses, whether it's organized crime, retail theft, the increase in drug use in the public spaces, right? These things are affecting our businesses. So we've become much more in the forefront. I think we're actually the first large local chamber to put our name behind Prop 36 last year, which was that reform measure, the public safety reform measure that passed overwhelmingly in the state. We actually ended up supporting that before our counterparts in LA, before our counterparts at Cal Chamber. So we're really active in this space. When we look at what's happening in the state of California this year, of course, we're focused on things like public safety and cost of living, but we're really focused on the cost of doing business in California. We hear most from our membership, whether it's our small business members or our medium-sized or our large-scale businesses, that the cost of doing business in California, whether it's the rising labor costs or regulation costs, it's just becoming too great, right? And we see other states and regions taking advantage of of this, right? And not just marketing themselves, but providing incentives for businesses. And we want businesses to stay here, right? We want all of you to stay here. We want you all to thrive, keep employing San Diegans, have great talent here. And so we're really focused on making sure that there's less regulation from the state and that we can allow our industries to thrive. And so if you're ever interested in some of the state work that we do, I think we engage on, I can't even tell you how many bills and issues at the state level, but a lot of that does really affect what happens here in San Diego, in addition to local politics from your city and your county. So if you ever want to talk about, what we do at the state level and some of the bills we've engaged on and what we're lobbying and advocating for on behalf of the San Diego business community, you can always reach out to myself or Jimena on our team, and we can talk to you a little bit further. But without further ado, I will introduce you to our first guest speaker of today, a great partner and friend to the Chamber, DA District Attorney Summer Stephan. She has devoted her life to protecting children and families, providing justice to the most vulnerable. She's a national leader in her fight against human trafficking and sexual exploitation. I will also say, as somebody who now works in a space with the state and with the federal government, RDA is well respected in those spaces, often putting San Diego at the forefront of public safety initiatives. So I'd really like to welcome you to our group this morning. DA Stephan, it's always great to see you, and thank you for joining us.
Great to see you, Justine, and great to be with the Chamber and especially with the small business initiatives. I'm Summer Stephan. I'm San Diego County's District Attorney. So what that means is that I'm the top public safety official for the county, and I have the honor to work with all of our police chiefs, including San Diego's police chiefs, Chula Vista's, Oceanside, El Cajon, National City. There are 12 police chiefs and Sheriff Kelly Martinez in partnership with the communities that we serve, listening to your voices in order to bring about one of the safest urban counties in America. This is no easy task. It's a daily grind that I do with 1,000 team members of prosecutors, police officers, victim advocates that serve this county and every city in the county, because the DA's jurisdiction is all 18 cities and all 39 unincorporated areas. So all 3.3 million people, all of the businesses in our community have their DA, our DA's office, as their champion to make sure that they are safe. I want to thank the Chamber because, like Justine mentioned, the Chamber was one of the first big organizations that represent small and large business to come on board to support Proposition 36 that was on the November ballot. And Justine was there herself on many forums where we were educating the community on the importance of Proposition 36, because there was a lot of misinformation obviously out there, and we needed to make sure that our community has the right information. And for the DA's office, we have something unique. We have a director for business development and safety, and that is Cameron Celeste, who's online also listening and very accessible to you, the Chamber. And he brings your voice forward, and so that we can develop policies, we can develop initiatives, we can make sure that you're safe. The heartbeat of San Diego and America is the small business community. It's the hardworking people that are building, thriving, growing, employing people, bringing innovation to San Diego. So it's an honor to be with you. What I want to do is I want to remind you of what Prop 36 intended to do, and now that it has passed, what it is doing. So here I'm going to give you some data. I'm going to give you some very exciting information, very hopeful, positive information. So for years, I have to say that I tried to work with our state legislature to pass more balanced public safety measures. I felt that the rights of the criminals that were ripping off businesses, ripping off people, hurting people, filling our streets with encampments, causing half of our fires in San Diego County, that their rights were way ahead of the rights of the victims and the right of the community to be safe. We tried to pass, like I said, common sense initiatives that balance everybody's rights, because nothing can thrive without safety. This is why the chamber has come aboard, because the interests of business intersect so strongly with the interests of public safety. So that did not work, unfortunately, despite some really great legislators from San Diego. The overwhelming balance was not in our favor. So we decided to take a proposition. In California law, you can pass laws by taking it to the legislature and having the legislature either do it themselves or put it on a proposition, or you can go to the people and gather signatures, which is a very arduous process, but that's the process we were left with. We gathered signatures, we educated people about it. Cameron Celeste worked with the chamber and many other partners to spread the information. I was there at so many events educating the community. And at the end of the day, the good news is the power of the people was on full display. And on the November ballot, it passed by over 68%. This is unheard of, something that doesn't happen, that so many people gave a mandate that enough was enough. So again, to remind you what Proposition 36 does, it went into effect December 18, because a proposition goes into effect different than a law. It's not, it doesn't have to wait till January. It's 5 days after the results are certified. And this is why I have a lot of data to share with you. It tackled two main areas that affect our businesses and also affect our community at large. One of those areas was in the area of theft. Unfortunately, California had a misguided law that allowed people to steal time and time and time again without any differentiation between the first time offender that just goes in, makes a mistake, a kid, a beer run. Of course, we don't believe in theft, but we believe in giving people second chances. Um, this didn't distinguish between that individual who made a mistake and then with people who make this their trade to destroy your businesses, to destroy any profit margin, to scare employees, where they walk in and they look at the employees. And this is probably the part that bothered me the most, and the part that I was able, as the National DA's president, to take my voice all the way to the United States Capitol in a congressional hearing to explain this isn't just an economic loss, which is devastating. It is also a human loss of feeling safe, because of talking to employees that felt like they were hopeless. They couldn't act. They call police. Police doesn't come, not because they don't care, but because the consequence is always a citation or a misdemeanor if it's under $950, which means we will see that person again within a few hours, if not the same day, if not in the same week. So that obviously did not make sense. Proposition 36 makes it such that when you get a third conviction, you can face a felony charge for theft, no matter what the amount of the theft is. You get your first misdemeanor, you get your second misdemeanor, but on the third time you face a felony, thus distinguishing the habitual offenders from those who made just a mistake, which has to be held accountable for it, but we still want to give a chance for rehabilitation. It also allowed aggregation. So people who go in and they steal from your store, the next store, the third store, the fourth business, all on one day or in 1 month, those amounts can be aggregated to over $950. It did several other things that don't have a daily impact, but affect the coordinated smash and grabs that you see on TV, the acting in concert, which scares employees and customers when a rash of people come in. So it addressed every facet that can protect our businesses. This is so exciting, and I'm going to tell you a really wonderful story where police officers, we trained all 5,000 police officers in San Diego because we wanted to be the best in protecting our community on day one of the passage of the law. And he arrested a repeat thief. He had 12 prior convictions. And this thief told him, "Officer, why are you arresting me? This is a citation. It's under $950. And Prop 36, I know all about it, but it doesn't go into effect till January." What the criminal didn't realize was that it went into effect December 18. But this story really demonstrates that criminals know the laws and they do everything to subvert them. And that's why the rule of law and having balanced laws was so critical. The impact has been incredible. I'm hearing from businesses, and I hope you're experiencing this, that police officers are responding because they know that there may be a consequence. And even if it is a misdemeanor, then it can build a record if this person decides to strike again. So I'm hearing a great reaction. Of course, we're just in its infancy, but we've already filed 172 cases of repeat theft, repeat habitual offenders in San Diego County alone. This is a big number, and since we've only had a couple of months so far. In addition, we were able in this law to do something that's going to also intersect with theft, but also intersect with homelessness and allow our communities to be safer and allow homeless individuals to receive the life-saving treatment that they need. This was absolutely an incredible thing. So what we passed was a treatment mandated felony, because unfortunately, much of our homeless population, not all, are in the depths of fentanyl addiction and other addictions that don't allow them to accept services and accept treatment. What this did is, on the third hard drug conviction for fentanyl, methamphetamine, a hard drug, you're able to give them an option: either go to jail or receive treatment, which is life-saving. The coroner has told us that homeless folks are dying on the street at 117 times higher rate than folks who are not homeless. What does this tell you? We have an addiction issue that is our laws were not addressing. So we have filed 385 treatment mandated felony cases just since the passage of Proposition 36 for a couple of months. So the total number is 557 felony cases. And with that, so far, we have had people beginning to accept treatment. 38 individuals have already accepted treatment. And that number is growing every week. And we're working very hard with the county to make sure the resources for treatment are available. This is very exciting. It's already making a difference. I'm meeting with my police chiefs, and they're already seeing a difference in homelessness, in the people accepting treatment, in the law being able to enforce the laws to keep our businesses our neighborhoods safe, our streets and schools safe. More to come on this because I continue to monitor very carefully, work with the Superior Court, with all of the justice partners to make sure we can implement in a very effective way that's going to make a difference for you. I want to leave some time for questions. So this is your opportunity if you have some questions this morning. And I, I think my message to you is if you've given up in the past calling because you think nothing's going to happen, please, please call again. Please make sure your surveillance equipment is updated, that your video cameras are updated, that your employees know about this law and know that things are now different, to make sure that you do call police, that you know that it's a completely different day and that we're able to protect your businesses in a much more effective way.
Thank you so much, District Attorney. We really appreciate your leadership in this issue, and it has been really great to collaborate with you in this particular effort. We do have a question in the chat. It really has to do with local government efforts on the no camping ordinance, and how can we further incentivize on growing employment and economic development opportunities for our population, and how can we provide more jobs to it to avoid crimes, like the crimes that are happening as we speak.
So obviously I try to always stay in my lane, which is a very big lane. We're the fifth largest county in the United States with a population bigger than 21 states, and that's public safety. That's what I've done for 35 years, have fought in the courtrooms to protect victims, and then as the elected district attorney in 2018 and 2022, continue to lead on this issue. But what I do know is that you can't grow a business and grow employment without a safe place. This is what I've heard time and time again. Stores who have a margin, they now have to lock up everything. They lose their profit margin. Their employees don't want to work there because it doesn't feel safe. There's people camping out in front of their business that doesn't allow free passage of customers who don't feel comfortable coming in. So what do? They go and they shop online or order online, which really then diminishes the employment for a variety of businesses. So my commitment and the reason I keep working on these laws, and this is a phenomenal law that is going to produce results, is because the growth of business, the growth of industry, the growth of our employment also depends on safety. Even our biotech industry, our tech industry has told us that they can recruit talent to away from San Francisco. And I don't want to be negative because every area is working on their issues to the best of their ability, but we're able to recruit talent to San Diego and open restaurants and innovative businesses because we are still one of the safest urban counties in America. You have to, what I would say is what Prop 36 showed is your voice is powerful, and therefore you should use your voice with the politicians that are responsible for, housing and economy and red tape cutting that is interrupting your ability to grow. You should use your voice forcefully to advocate for yourself, because when you advocated for better safety, you got it in Prop 36.
Amazing. Thank you so much, District Attorney. One final question just to wrap up, and this is something that I think it's in the agenda of many. So with crime reporting expected to increase, how can the business community effectively communicate that this reflects accountability rather than a rise of crime?
So this is an excellent point, Jimena. So it's something that we track. For example, when we did very heavy enforcement on human trafficking, the reporting went up by 27%. But we tracked that it's our efforts that brought about that additional reporting. So we do expect that there will be heightened reporting, but where the businesses can help us show that that doesn't mean it's a rise in crime, but an actual better reporting of crime, is if they track their losses, their shrinkage, because their losses should remain the same or hopefully go down over time because of the deterrent efforts and the fact that the laws are working. So what we'd like is to be able to report, yes, we charged more cases because before we didn't have the law to do it. Yes, there was more reporting because what was the point of reporting before when nothing was going to happen? But in fact, our community is safer because the losses to the businesses has gone down. And now they don't have to lock up everything and they don't have to, you know, be on edge. So they've been able to retain their employees. So we do ask our businesses to also track their losses.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And just to close off, how can the business community collaborate with local and regional law enforcement to really advocate for Prop 36 and its benefits?
You know, you attending, becoming educated, spreading the word, making sure that your employees know that it's a different day, that the laws are different, communicating with your whoever your local captain for your region. Every area has its own, not just the chief of police who's very receptive and wants to hear from you, but also the local captain, the local lieutenant that is there. Find out who that is and have a conversation about how is it best for you to report to their station to get a response from police officers. You have a lot of power, and communicating and asking those questions are really important. I can tell you my police chiefs are dedicated and worked so hard to pass Prop 36 alongside me. And so they want to see the results. Yes, their resources are strapped. And if they get a call for a homicide or a call for theft and the resources are limited, they're going to respond to the homicide. But that does not mean any longer that you can't capture the image if you know the identity of the thief, that you can't um, provide a report in a non-emergency way. Remember, I told you that there's aggregation now. We can aggregate the cases. So the next time the person comes in, we can have a higher impact. So again, we thought of all these obstacles in writing the law so that even if you call later or get a response later, it still allows us to document and to comply with the law.
DA Stefan, thank you so much again for joining us today and for your ongoing leadership in this space and in so many areas that are relevant to the business community. We'll definitely stay in touch and look forward to future opportunities to collaborate as always. And please continue considering the Chamber as a partner.
I do consider the chamber as a partner, but of course you can go to the chamber or go directly to san-diego-da.com. I do a weekly newsletter that tells you what's happening in public safety, and that could help you stay on top of it as well. Thank you.
Yes. And I just posted the link on the chat for everyone's reference, and we'll hopefully get some new subscribers there.
Thank
All right.
you.
Have a beautiful day. All right. Thank you so much, Summer Stefan. On to our next segment and shifting to it's a space a little bit. We'll be transitioning to resources that are available for our small business community. Today with us, we have Roberto Martinez, who serves as a digital coach with Google. Hello, Roberto. Thank you so much for joining. Just a little information before we head in. Grow with Google is a free initiative by Google, of course, that has a network of coaches across the country that provide training and guidance to help businesses take the next step, like how to connect with customers, sell products online, and improve business productivity. Roberto, thank you again, and we're excited to hear all about the useful tips you have for us.
Thank you, Jimena. Pleasure being here with you in the chamber. What an amazing talk by DA Stefan. Just fantastic. But my name is Roberto Martinez, and let's get right into it. I am your Google coach. This is a free service that Google provides small businesses across the state of California and in 12 other states. And it's a free service for all small business, regardless of where you are in your growth trajectory, to help you better understand your growth, how to use Google tools, how to scale using Google tools. Today, we're going to have just a small little snippet about digital analytics, how to leverage Google's analytical tool called Google Analytics, and we'll also touch just a little bit on the Google business profile. I've been doing this for Google for the past 9 years. We've been helping over 10,000 small businesses since we got started. Just in California alone, nationally, we're over 100,000 small businesses. So we're very excited to be here today. We definitely want to work with the chamber. We want to work with you directly. You have my email address right in my signature there, where Roberto Mar at google.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If I cannot find the answer to your question, I will definitely find someone within our team that can. With that, let's get started. Next slide, please. Again, I've been doing this for 9 years. I have my own business as well. Google really focused on local entrepreneurs who are working within the city, within the state, to really speak from that voice of an entrepreneur that understands the pain points of growing their business online. Next slide, please. Okay, let's get a little bit into how do we make you guys grow and scale using data. And post-pandemic, we all realize the need to be online. Most of us now, because of that need, have an online presence, and be a website or social media. And so Fitzgerald here is telling us that data makes your briefcase heavy, but insights or understanding what that data is telling us makes us rich. And how do we make sense of that data to take informed business decisions that's going to grow that revenue and help you become more prosperous, reinvesting into your community, driving more employment, more economic stimulation to help San Diego be a thriving city, a thriving county. Next slide, please. So what we want to do is tell story with numbers. That's really what data analytics is all about, leveraging that insight and understanding what the information that's coming into your website tells you about your consumer and the consumer habits so that you can better market to them using your social media channels. So there's a slew of different tools that we can use with Google Analytics that helps us understand where your prospective customers are coming from, i.e. what channel, it'd be social media, email marketing, paid ads, or organic. Where you find your customers, we always say that we have to meet our customers where they're at, not where we want them to be. What do they find most interesting when you do create content, when you do develop social media posts or videos and whatnot? Is that content relevant to your consumer? Is that driving the intended results that you want? And how do we engage that customer to drive results? Next slide, please. So we don't have time to go through every single one of these points, but what we'll do is give you a potpourri of the most important points here and introduce you to setting up Google Analytics. Now, most of us have a website. We definitely want to make sure you set up your Google Analytics. We'll touch on how to go about doing that very briefly. Then we'll talk about how to understand the different tools within your account. Again, we can't really go in depth, but what we can do is give you a high-level overview, and then in the future, work with the chamber and Jimena to come back and give you a full 45-minute presentation on this particular workshop. But we have over 20 other workshops in English and in Spanish. We're also going to touch a little bit about how to use the Google search box and how to run analytical ads, meaning if you do have Google Analytics and you are running Google ads, how to connect those two to get more data to make informed business decisions and make sure it's driving the results you want. It'd be a call, it'd be a visit at your storefront, it'd be signing up for your newsletter or your email. Regardless, we can track that success with Google Analytics. Next slide, please. Let's get right into it. Next slide, please. So the first thing we'll need is to identify what we're aiming for. Most of us in business have already identified what SMART goal is: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So we want to put guardrails. In essence, what we want to make sure is that we measure what drives results. And we want to make sure that it's very narrow in focus, because that way you can understand if it's driving the intended results we as a business owner want. We want to make sure it's measurable in the sense that we can identify from 1 week over the next week if it's growing. If we just have a general goal that's broad, it's not going to be very useful. So from my perspective, if we're an e-commerce company, we want to identify how many businesses are coming from our email newsletter, how many businesses are coming from our paid ads, and we want to measure it within a finite piece of time. The third piece is really important. Is it attainable? I want to increase sales by 50%. Have we ever done that? A more realistic goal would be 5 to 7%. Maybe a stretch goal would be 10 to 15%. And that way we can measure that impact. Relevant is clicks are currency, but does likes drive revenue? Does likes drive sales? In other words, if I'm focusing a lot of my time on social media posts, is that driving the intended result me as a business owner need to make sure my revenue grows in time? Or is it better to drive folks to an action that is going to increase our potential for sales, like signing up for that email newsletter or buying directly from our website? And then we have to put those guardrails for that time constraint. We're going to run this ad for 2 weeks. We're going to run this ad for a month. We're going to run this ad for a quarter to really help us identify if it's driving the results we need to increase those sales. Next slide, please. So what are our goals? We have a slew of different goals. We have sales, we have leads, we have appointments, we have a lot of different goals that we can aim for. If we're a B2B company, then there's definitely leads. We know that sales cycle is a little bit longer, and we know we might need a quarter to 6 months to convert, especially if we're in the biotech space, biopharma space. We understand those don't close very quickly, versus if we're an e-commerce product space that sells shirts, pants, or backpacks, what have you. That can be direct to consumer sale. Appointments are extremely important for those of us who are in the consumer space, that's the service space. We want to drive as many appointments because we know there's going to be folks who reschedule those appointments. So those 10 appointments might become 8 or 7. So we want to measure those things. Phone calls. We know that if you secure 10 phone calls, 1 or 2 are going to convert. Foot traffic is another one of those pieces that we can track through analytics. And if we have an app, we want to track downloads. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is Google Analytics? It's a free tool that we use to connect your website with the tool. And as you connect in that website, it's measuring all the online traffic that's coming into our website. It's extremely important because we'll have a better sense, especially for an e-commerce company, how many sales we're driving. For example, if we drive 1,000 people to the website and 100 people buy from us, that's a 10% conversion rate. If you have a 10% conversion rate, sign me up to be an investor into your company, because those are great numbers. And what we want to think through is, why do we want this information? Because we want to know how those customers got into our funnel. When we say funnel, we call it a sales funnel, but it's an online funnel. There's multiple channels in your funnel. One funnel channel can be your social media. Another one can be your email. Another one can be your promotional material within the chamber. If you're a member of the chamber and you signed up and they have a directory, you can identify how many folks are coming to your website from the chamber email address or the directory. And that's also just great SEO. What do I mean by SEO? That's search engine optimization. The more quote unquote backlinks we have, or other third-party websites who are promoting our website in their website, and increases our search authority. So we want to know all these pieces of information that's going to make us a more informed business owner. Next slide, please. So what gets measured gets done, and we want to understand our customer base. That's number one. We want to learn what marketing strategies are working. That's number two. And we want to make better business decisions. I tell the story of a friend that was slow to adopt certain food trends, and he didn't really think that going the paleo route or going a cauliflower route for the crust of his pizza was very useful 5-7 years ago. And we did an A/B test on his website, and we promoted it, and we were able to track that success with Google Analytics. Another example that I have is another friend that I have was promoting his restaurant during Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and he saw a big spike in calls on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And he was curious as to why that was happening. So we dove into his analytics and we saw those calls were happening around 5 to 7 o'clock in the afternoon. So we reasoned that the reason why is because maybe on Monday and Tuesday, people are cooking for themselves, but on Wednesday and Thursday, they want to order out. So we created promotional material during that time slot to capture those customers who are ordering online because they're tired of cooking. So all of these pieces of information you can gather with the specific tool. Next slide, please. So when we create that content and we understand that the content is useful, we are an opinion of one, but we want to get back to our customer and understand if that opinion is actually driving the results that we want. So it's really important for us to identify if the content is useful or not. And how do we go about doing that? We test it out. We position it on our website. When you go to Macy's, when you go to Lululemon, and you see the first page of the website changing every 3 months because it's winter, it's spring, it's fall, it's summer, you know they're doing that to gather and attract customers. We also need to evaluate which channel is converting at the highest rate. In other words, if we're investing money and time into our email marketing, social media, and paid ads, we want to identify which channel is the best channel for us to drive that sale. Next slide, please. So how do we set this up? We go to g.co/analytics. We need a Gmail account, and then we integrate our Google Analytics page with our website. It's extremely easy to do. You got a global IP address that Google identifies. Then you have a GA analytical tracking pixel that you can connect to your website, regardless if your website's WordPress, Squarespace, Wix. We integrate with any and all websites. Next slide, please. The thing you will need is a Gmail account. Next slide, please. Once you're in, we have a slew of different tabs that identify how much website traffic is coming. You can create weekly or monthly reports. You can even explore what channels your prospective customers are coming from. Next slide, please. With reports, I love to set up a monthly report, and I like to understand how many people came to my website and how many leads we got from that. You can even set up what are called events. What does Google mean by an event? It's an action you want the prospective customer to do once they get into your website. Let's say you have a call now button. Let's say you have a sign up for our email now button. Let's say you have a click here button. You could track all those events. Another event can be how long the prospective customer stays on your website. All useful pieces of information that helps you make a more informed decision. For example, if we know the customer lands on your website but leaves right away, is that a great content on the website? If we know the customer staying a minute, 2 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes on our web page, we know that content's perfect because it's engaging and driving the customer to stay on the website. Next slide, please. You could also put filters, compare and contrast. We can compare and contrast age ranges. We can compare and contrast gender. We can even sometimes pull information on income level and compare and contrast those. We can add a multitude of filters that are going to help us better understand our customer. Next slide, please. And if we're international in scope, which much of us are in San Diego County, we might be selling to our partners south of the border. We can identify where the traffic is coming from, what part of the United States, what part of California, what part of San Diego County, or what part of Mexico that traffic is coming from. And we can monitor that traffic. We also have something called real time. Let's say you do an advertising on your radio or TV or on a promotional event that you support in the conference. You can track in real time if your website traffic is going up or down. Next slide, please. We can also track the channel of acquisition that your customer came from. That's just a fancy way of saying understanding where the customer came from. If it came from social, if it came from which social page, if it came from email marketing. All that tells us is which channel is doing the best job at bringing that traffic to our website. Next slide, please. And how engaging or how sticky the content is. Is the customer engaged, staying in that page of website? Is he or she clicking on that page or on that call to action? What's a call to action, a CTA? It's that action you're asking the customer to take to bring them into your funnel. Next slide, please. And most importantly, we want to make sure we're identifying if these customers are converting and monetizing. Are they buying from our website? If we have an email commerce company, we can identify that with this tool. Next slide, please. So as I told you, it's very, very short presentation. We have 15 minutes to walk through this, but we can definitely come back. We talked about SMART goals. We talked about identifying where the traffic's coming from. We talked about the different channels that are successful and converting for our prospective customer. And if that particular channel is the most lucrative for us because we're monetizing in that channel. Next slide, please. The Google Ads is really important because now you have two sets of data that combine to give you a more rich experience when it comes to, is your ads running and are those ads converting? Next slide, please. What can happen is you link your Google Analytics with your Google Ads page, and there's an analytical place in the settings part of your Google Ads and on your Google Analytics to make sure they're both communicating to each other. That way you get double the information to take more informed business decisions. Next slide. Very easy to do on the Google Analytics page. You go to the little gear on the left-hand side, you click on that button, you go to properties, and right there it has product links, and you'll be able to connect your Google Ads link, which has a specific number that you would have when you set up your Google Ads, to Google Analytics. Next slide, please. Last but not least, I definitely want to touch on Google Search Console. We want to know how Google thinks. We want to know how Google reads our website, and we want to get in front of them and give them the information they need to better understand the information that we placed on our website. We have something called a sitemap. What is a sitemap? It's the way your website is structured. Here's the home page. Here's the About Us page. Here's the product space or the services page. We want to tell Google how that website is set up so that Google can quickly read that information and drive the right type of customer to our website so we can convert. This tool is absolutely free to use and takes a few minutes to set up as well. Next slide, please. So how does Google Search Console work? Well, Google has what we call Google bots. I want you to think about the Google bot like the Disney movie WALL-E, and how that little machine was organizing the world's trash. Well, Google organizes the world's information. Your website provides a lot of data. And so this crawler, or what we call Google bot, it's called the long-tailed spider for those of us who don't use Google jargon, is it crawls the internet and measures and reads your content on your website very quickly. Google can search 40,000 websites a second. It's an amazing feat of engineering. And so we want to make sure that when somebody on the Google search engine types in a word or phrase of your website, that Google matches that customer with that phrase to your website. How do we do that? By SEO, optimizing our website, but also by connecting the Google search engine with our website. Next slide, please. How do we go about doing that, Rob? I'm glad you asked. Go to g.co/search console. Very easy to drop in your URL and it'll automatically connect you to your website and make sure you submit your sitemap the way your website is structured. Next slide, please. Last but not least, I would be remiss if we don't use the most popular tool out there for Google that's completely free, which is Google Business Profile. Simple to use, simple to set up, takes you 10 minutes. Just go to google.com/business. So whenever a customer goes on the Google search engine or Google Maps, your business pops up on the Google search bar and Google Maps. Next slide, please. Once you do that, you'll have all your information on a dashboard on the Google search engine. Very important to note, you definitely want to use your business email address to connect to your Google search profile to make sure you always have access to it. You want to make sure it's your email address, not some other friends or family members who set it up. That way you always have control over the profile, and there's just a lot of pieces of puzzles that you can do within the Google Business Profile. I'm happy to come back and walk you guys through how to set it up. We have a specific workshop just on this specific tool. Next slide, please. Okay, let's recap and open up for Q&A. Next slide, please. We talked a lot about how to set up your Google Analytics. We talked about the goals using smart tools. We talked about how to measure success and identify the channels that your prospective customers are coming from. Next slide, please. If you want more information on all these different tools, you can always go to google.com/grow. We have a lot of information there. We have a lot of content, videos for you to learn on your own speed to get a better understanding of all the different Google tools available to you at no cost. Next slide, please. With that, love to thank you for joining us and open it up to Q&A. And if you want to leave me some feedback, scan that QR code and let us know if you want me to come back and speak at the chamber, or never invite me again. Don't come back. That was terrible.
We will definitely be inviting you, Roberto. No doubt about that. We do have a suggestion to please share your PowerPoint if that's something we can do. I think that so many good resources and so many good tips are in there that we might have overlooked in the past. Just a little bit of context, Roberto and I chatted a bit prior in another meeting, and I thought it was really interesting learning more about Grow with Google's network and sort of how it has come about and the availability of digital coaches across the state and across the nation. Can you share a little bit more about that, and maybe how can someone else from another chamber or someone else individually wants to reach out to a digital Google coach?
Yeah, happy to talk about. We're a Google coach. We no longer a Google digital coach, just because we want to be more inclusive in our communication. And yes, it's very easy. If you're from another state, because we cover whole states, I cover the whole state of California. Happy to connect you to our Google coach in Texas and Florida and New York and Illinois. If you are here in California, you reach out to me through my Google email, Roberto Mar at google.com. And I'll be more than happy to set you up as a Google partner, which the San Diego Chamber is definitely a Google partner. It's at no cost to you as a chamber member. We work with SBDCs, we work with nonprofits, we work with chambers at no cost to the chamber to provide these trainings in English and in Spanish.
That's awesome. Yes, we'll definitely have more opportunities to speak with Roberto in the future. Roberto, thank you so much again for joining us and for all the work that you do for our small business community. This is not a farewell, but it's a see you soon. And we look forward to anything else that might come in the future. Thank you so much,
Very
Roberto,
excited.
and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. All right, everyone, that's all the time we have for today. But before logging off, I wanted to make a few announcements. As we do every year, the Chamber will be heading to our annual mission to Washington, D.C. from April 6th through the 8th to meet with multiple federal agencies and leaders to address our region's most pressing priorities. In the past, we've met with the Small Business Administration and hope to engage this year as well, as we considering that we have a newly appointed administrator and leaders across the board. So I'll post that link in the chat for the trip. And also a really big announcement. So on May 6th, the Chamber will be having its inaugural Small Business Success Summit in honor of Small Business Week. Considering that small businesses make up 98% of our economy, this will be a unique gathering where San Diego small businesses can access a wealth of information, resources, and networking all under one roof. The summit will feature a dynamic speaker program, table exhibit opportunities, and overall, it would just provide insights and a wealth of information for businesses to connect with key organizations and industry leaders. I'll be also posting that in the comment section for this platform. And we really hope to see you there, and please stay tuned for further updates regarding that particular event. And we really hope to see you there as it's an event that's free and open to the public for chamber members and non-members. And we hope to see you there. Thank you so much for joining us at our first Small Business Resilience Workshop of the year. We'll stay in touch, and please we'll keep you all posted for future small business events. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you again for keeping an eye out for all of these events too. Have a great one.